it is your job to handle the business of the business.
Gotcha.
If you playing football and you got to go out on that field, what you going to do? You going to make sure you physically fit, you strong enough to step on that field before you go out there and take a hit.
Absolutely.
So before you go out of the bank, sit down with them and say, listen, this is what I'm looking to do. Can you tell me what your requirements are in ratios? I want you to write them down, explain to me what they are so I can go prepare myself and come back and be ready for it. The banks are not nonprofit. The bank is open and established to make money, and they do that by taking risks.
What's up, y'all? Get ready to break it down and level up. Welcome to Doing Numbers, your #1 financial literacy podcast in the world. Clap it up. I'm your host, Olu.
I'm your host, Scott Howell.
So bring your pen and pad because it's about to get real.
That's right.
What's going on, Scott?
Another day in paradise, Jack. I'm feeling real. I'm spread a little thin, I will admit. I'm spread a little thin. I associated my goals with my drive this year, and they don't match up. So I got to do a little bit of work to streamline that process to bring my drive up to where my goals are.
So what goals do you guys set for yourself right now?
I'm setting out on buying 2 buildings this year. That's my goal.
Okay.
Purchase 2 buildings this year for my portfolio.
Nice. And right now, as far as your preparation, where is that at?
So I got my credit up and I got my capital up. What I don't have is the information, or I don't have a real estate agent. I don't have an electrician. I don't have any of the things to make this thing happen.
Okay.
I just got myself ready for the moment.
You just got yourself ready.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I think that's something that you could definitely, work on for sure. You got a good goal set for yourself. 2 buildings. That's a big feat, to knock down. But I know you can knock it down. You're a strong guy.
Big wheels keep rolling.
So what areas are you looking in?
Chicago, Illinois. I want to start back home.
Okay. And more so in your urban areas, or are you looking more on the outskirts?
No such thing as Chicago.
Okay.
Chicago is a mix of urban and affluent areas. Like, you have certain areas that are urban now that weren't before and are going to change in the next couple months. So it all depends on when and where you're talking about. But I'm looking in the Hyde Park and the Bronzeville areas.
Okay, perfect. So I think with the guest that we got on today, I'm sure he'll be able to help you out and steer you in a good direction on how to get some of those things started. I got somebody for you.
Okay.
Got somebody real important here for you, man.
Yeah, I like important people.
All right. So I want to introduce you today. Our guest, we have Michael Smith. Mike Smith serves as the Senior Vice President and Business Bank and Market Executive for Fifth Third Bank's North Florida region. Mike is responsible for leading a team of tenured relationship managers in the Jacksonville, Central Florida, and Tampa Bay markets that service businesses with annual revenue between $2 million and $20 million. He and his team are focused on boosting financial productivity for businesses, their owners, and their employees by delivering smart lending, cash management, payroll processing, and payment services solutions. Mike has more than 30 years of experience serving in leadership roles within the financial service industry, including his previous role as business banking marketing manager for Fifth Third Cincinnati region. Prior to joining Fifth Third, Mike held leadership positions in business banking for PNC and U.S. Bank for a combined 24 years. Mike has a passion for building business opportunities for African Americans and is a long-time volunteer coach and mentor to young professionals interested in the real estate investing and entrepreneurship lane. He serves on the board of the Tampa Bay Chambers of Commerce, United Way Suncoast, and the Tampa Bay Club. Mike devotes time speaking and serving on panels, discussions, promoting economic equity. Hell of a bio, right?
Very accomplished gentleman, sir.
So without further ado, man, I want to introduce my listeners to Mike Smith.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Feeling today?
I'm feeling great, man. I'm feeling great. That bio, I've been a banker for 30 years, but I've never really considered myself to be a banker. It's something that, I started in years ago out of college, had no idea what I was going to do, but I kind of fell into banking. What I really consider myself to be is a connector and a person for the people, somebody who's grown up, never been an affluent person, but have kind of molded myself into a situation to where I become a professional, obviously been involved in a lot of things, but in the end, I am a person for the people.
Awesome. And I can say, you know, from my own testimony, man, you've been a great mentor to myself, helped teaching me things along the way. About in our previous podcast episode about, you know, you guys coming together between you and LaConya, your wife, and bringing, you know, 80 kids together to reach one common goal. Whether that's, you know, achieving a championship in our baseball careers, moving and excelling through our baseball journeys, taking it to a professional level, and then just helping us mold us to become better men. So I definitely appreciate you for everything that you've done and instilled in me throughout this time.
And, you know, I like to take a moment to say how proud I am of you. We are proud of you. I've seen you growing up since you was a little kid and staying focused and, you know, came out to be a very good man, a good man, good parent, and doing the right things. I don't know. Your friends might not know. Scott might not know. Shay, when Shay is 10, 11, 12.
Tell me the story. What he
Shay used to be probably the best baseball player in Cincinnati.
Nah.
Man, Shay used to crush the ball, was a pitcher. Shay had a couple of games probably when they were like 12 or 13. He almost pitched no hitters.
What?
Yeah, very good athlete, always a great kid, very respectful, and he's a natural born leader, great man.
Good. I'm in good company then.
Yeah, very good company.
Okay,
very
good.
company.
That's very reassuring. I appreciate you giving me that.
What you got for us, Scott?
Man, I just want to say first off, it's great to meet you both.
Yes, sir.
I really appreciate all that you've instilled in O. It wouldn't be possible for something like this to happen had you not had your influence in and on his life. So I just wanted to say thank you for that.
That's
and also
awesome.
thank you for being here.
Oh, no problem, man. Like I said, it's good to be here. And immortal words are diggable planets.
That's
it's
right.
good to be here.
That's right.
So I want the people to know now that I got you on the podcast, because I told them, man, I don't know how, you know, you and LaConya was finding the finances to take care of us in baseball while also doing your own personal endeavors. But if you could just shed a little light on to our listeners of what it took, the sacrifices you made in order to make that happen, I think that'll help us all.
Well, you know, obviously, I think you're alluding to me coaching you guys in ball from the times you're little, coming up, creating our ball club, which is called Playground All-Stars, and, you know, making a decision to, step out and make sure that we are mentors, examples, and folks who could actually take the time, money, and effort to give kids an opportunity to play ball, travel ball. At the time, we were probably the only predominantly black travel team in baseball out of Cincinnati. And we actually did baseball and basketball. So what's crazy about it is we literally were coaching baseball and had, you know, at times had to take 5 guys out of the baseball game, say, go to the basketball tournament. We had somebody run up to the tournament.
Right.
They start playing, and then we finish the baseball game and then come to the tournament. But I had my younger brother-in-law and some of his friends that I coached in basketball earlier. They actually, when they finished playing ball in college and what have you, they came back and they started to coach basketball for us. And then we ran the basketball program, and then we ran the baseball program, and we got guys, Shay, my sons, and some of their friends. It was a group of kids that we kind of were the initial group, and then we just expanded from there. But we made the decision we were going to give them the opportunity to play ball right along with any of the the quote unquote white kids play ball. We wanted to make sure that they had every opportunity. So we had to get a practice facility that we could practice at every day. We had to get uniforms. We had to, help kids get to the tournaments. We had to pay for tournaments. You know, tournaments weren't cheap. We were paying $1,500, $2,000 for tournaments. We were traveling. I had coaches who, out of the, goodness of their heart, one was Eric May, who's a childhood friend of mine who played ball. We played ball against each other when we were kids, so he understood the plight of what we wanted to do, and he volunteered to do it. But we also paid for his expenses, paid for travel. We probably spent 30 days summer in a hotel and probably spent $30,000. So I was telling somebody the other day, I think, Shay knows Josh, we were golfing, we were talking about baseball. I said, man, every summer, me and my wife was about to get divorced. Every summer, we was on the brink, because she would always be like, you spending all this money on these kids, because I wanted them to have everything that, the white kids had when we went to, tournaments. When we, we were one of the first teams, black or white, to come to Atlanta and play in the World Wood Bat Championship. Wow. And obviously when we got here, I wanted to make sure that we showed up in a nice van. I wanted to make sure we had brand new uniforms or whatever, nice caps to get here. I wanted to make sure we traveled first class. And, anybody that saw us traveling, even the other white teams that we played against, they had so much respect for us because they knew what it took in order to put ourselves in the position that we were. But we made the decision we were going to do it the very best that we could. I had somebody came to me one time, they said, man, you obsessed with this and this and that. I said, no, I'm about it. You know what I mean? If I promise the kids I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it the very best that we could. So we spent money. We dealt with parents. That's the hard thing because they really didn't see. And when we talk about generational wealth, which we'll get into in a moment, that's part of it. People in the black community, they think if they don't have something in their hand that's bringing them a reward right at that time, they don't see the value in it. So, that was part of it. A lot of times parents would have you seek, they just playing ball, this and that, but they don't understand the lessons that they learn, the relationships that they build, the friendships that they had. And a lot of them got a chance to go. Shay had a chance to go, he went to junior college and paid, but he went on a full ride, went to junior college and played ball, got a chance to start college and learn. So it was a lot that came with it. But again, man, we made the decision and we wasn't going to back out. We're going to make sure it happened the best that it could.
That's dope. I got a question for you. In an age now where a lot of our elders don't put that much influence into our youth,
right?
What drove you towards investing into the youth?
Well, I grew up, I was an athlete. I grew up playing ball, baseball, basketball, football. And when I grew up, I played in a team in Madisonville, which was kind of, in proximity of where Shay grew up. And I played on a team. And we actually were a predominantly black ball club. And we were fortunate enough to have a coach. His name was Stu Barrett. He owned a sporting goods store called All-Star Sporting Goods. Okay. So, he had access to anything. So we had 2 or 3 uniforms, caps. We're, in a black community. He coached us. If another team didn't have uniforms or they didn't have a coach, they went to Stu. Stu used to leave the store early to go coach somebody else's team because the coach wouldn't show up. He bought uniforms for other teams. He gave them discounts. He did the very best he could and got us started. A lot of it's just about pride, playing ball, having pride, being with your friends, getting up at 8 o'clock in the morning, wearing your uniforms around the hood. And, so that kind of instilled in me to play ball. And then when I got older, we left Madisonville. Stu had a situation in his business where his father died and he couldn't spend as much time in the community, so he had to take over the business. But we left there and went and played for another team in Cincinnati called the Lincoln Heights Eagles. Okay. And that was the first time that I really started playing real baseball, travel ball, and also some of our guys that left our All-Star Sporting Goods team went and played for the Lincoln Heights Eagles, and we started traveling. And then that's when I got the taste of traveling, going to Tennessee and different other places, spending money, trying to play in a double ABC World Series and all that. So I got a taste of it, and I understood that what the competition was about. In sports or in baseball especially, is not, when you're traveling, it's a global sport. So it's not, being the best on your neighborhood team or being the best on your team or being the best in your league or not being the best in your city. Now it becomes a national sport. Shay could tell you or Olu could tell you, when we start playing, we start going to play against teams from all over the United States, contiguous United States, Puerto Rico, anywhere in the world, people were coming. So I got a taste of what that could do. And eventually I went to high school and I played in the city. I was a very good baseball player in high school. I was, got drafted out of high school, went to college and played, and I got to see what the benefits of participating at a higher level in sports were. So I wanted to bring that to my neighborhood and kids, and I wanted them to see that if they put their minds to it, they worked hard at it, and they believed and dreamed, and they decided to, get that team concept that they could accomplish a lot of things, and we did. So that's how I got into it.
I applaud you for that.
Yeah.
Nah, it was a great story. Thank you.
Yeah, man, it's awesome. So I want to dive into it because we here to do numbers.
Yeah.
So we're gonna talk about some doing numbers, and we're gonna talk about generational wealth. So one of my first questions that I like to ask is, how can financial literacy be integrated into a family's long-term wealth strategy?
I think in generational wealth, coming from a Black perspective, because I am Black, that's what I am. I think that, we have years and years and years where like we never focused on generational wealth. There were so many other things that we had to focus on. So I think it comes from four things. One, somebody or the family, but typically is one individual, has to make the decision that they're going to be the one who breaks the generational curses and say, I think there's a saying, say you might not come from a rich or wealthy family, but a rich or wealthy family should come from you.
I like that.
So somebody got to make that decision that that's what they're going to do. And, I think where a lot of people don't understand is that your life is a business.
Mm-hmm.
And when you don't go after or go out every day and wake up every day operating as if your life is a business, you got decisions to make. You got to go to work. You got people you're responsible for. You got to pay bills. You got to start forecasting on what's going to happen for the next 5 years. Your life is a business. And if you don't wake up every single day looking for opportunity, you're missing the boat, because people that do have wealth, they wake up every single day and it is a business. You know what I'm saying? They waking up every day doing numbers.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? They not slipping and not, they doing that craft work. Y'all don't know if y'all know about craft work. We used to have a song called Numbers. They waking up every day and they making calculations and they running their life as if it's a business. So number one, making a decision. Two, educating yourself. You have to educate yourself on what financial instruments are, marketable securities, real estate, operating, starting, owning, or investing in businesses, what the S&P is, how the Dow Jones work, what the Magnificent Seven are as far as stock, and then personal development. And then the next one is accountability, holding yourself accountable for the things that you've actually educated yourself on.
Sure.
If you're going to spend time reading books, the Millionaire Next Door or whatever it is, and putting a plan together and writing it down, and then you don't hold yourself accountable for those things, then you wasted it a whole bunch of time. So making a decision, education, accountability, and next is consistency. After you put those practices together, you start saying, okay, I want to go about making this happen. And a big thing about wealth is planning it, like I said, and then staying consistent. Consistently contributing to your investment account, doing your 401k where it comes out every month, putting money aside every single month. And I think the biggest thing is to buy a home as soon as you possibly can, because that's, to me, a home, life insurance, and being consistent are the foundations of building wealth.
That's good.
What does a home contribute to your portfolio that nothing else does?
Well, number one, most people, you got to think with us being Black folks for years, they didn't allow us to buy homes.
Sure.
Then they redlined. Then they had deed restrictions where, certain things couldn't happen. So we missed out on that generational wealth building foundation from a house, because when you buy a house, you start to build equity in your home. Number one, it's an automatic savings account. Whenever you go out and you make a payment on your home, it's you basically saving, because now you're paying down a mortgage, you're getting appreciation, so it starts to build a gap, and in between that gap, that's where your appreciation is, and that's where your wealth comes. So And you got to think of all the things you can do with a home. Once you start building equity, well, first of all, let me go back. When you build a home and you have children, you get them a sense of security because they're in a home, they're in a safe place. They got their parents, they got a place to come home to. Absolutely. You know what I mean? They get attached to a home. They start thinking about, subconsciously, one day I'm gonna have my own home.
Exactly.
So that's where that starts at.
You shift that mindset.
Yeah, you shift that mindset. But two, you got to think a grandparent who has equity in their home, they could take out equity, they could buy another residence, and it could become an investment property. They could take cash out of that home. They could help pay for their grandkids to go to college. They can take money out of that home, help them live a better life. They can get, pay for things, vacation or what have you. So it's a lot that can happen with a home because it's a tool.
Right.
And the sooner, and anything you do in real estate takes time. It takes time. It's not going to buy it and then 2 years from now, oh, we're going to be rich. I'm in a $1 million house. It takes time. And it also teaches you how to take care of a home, sweat equity, and all those good things that come with responsibility as a young adult.
Love that.
And go ahead, Scott.
No, you got it.
And getting to that point of, acquiring a home, building generational wealth, having the consistency, what barriers do you notice or see in our generation, or not even our generation, but within our race that's stopping us from getting to that point?
I think the barriers are going back to what I stated when I talk about your life as a business. You know what I mean? I think you probably know a lot of people, and I do. I say that you have a lot of folks that are grown teenagers. You know what I mean? They're grown in age, but they still have teenage tendencies where they're not, they're not focused on it. And the saying, ignorance is bliss. People can say, well, if I stay ignorant, then I don't have any accountability. Nobody can say because I didn't know. Right. But no, it's your job to know. It's your job to know. It's your job to get better. It's your job as a parent to be able to educate yourself so you can start to educate your children early on so they can start going around the same path. They're going to do what they see you do.
Absolutely.
But our barriers are, we don't take things serious enough. When people say, well, we don't have money and we don't do that. But the fact of the matter is Black people are not poor. When you look at it, we spend $1.6 trillion a year just on things. I'm not going to sit here and say I'm perfect. I spend money on things that I like too. But we don't say, I got to start out with a good foundation. I got to sacrifice in the beginning. Nobody wants to sacrifice, just like playing ball when they were kids, man. The parents, nobody ever wanted, you to scold their kid or whatever. They only wanted you to pat them on the head. I used to tell the kids, like, man, anybody that only tell you good things, then, they're not a coach, they're a fan. Sure. And what we have to do as adults, we have to start out saying, my parents might not have been able to teach me, but you guys growing up with Google and YouTube, there's no reason why you don't know. Sure. But so you gotta find a purpose in life, and then again, man, everything including your life is a business.
I love that. Go ahead.
And along with that, being involved in the community the way that you have, would you say your philanthropy work has helped streamline the process of you getting to generational wealth quicker, or did it play a role into that total preparation of it?
Well, a couple of things. So when I was coaching in my late 20s and my early 30s, and the years when people are going out on vacations, hanging out at clubs and doing all that. I never did that. We spent our younger days. Our vacation was in Indiana at a university playing tournaments. That's what our vacations were. But we decided to do that, and also I was a salesperson. At that then I was a relationship manager. I was responsible for producing. So folks don't know, when we were at tournaments and at practice, I was losing money because I wasn't selling, but I was still good at what I did, so I still made a decent amount of money. But I had real estate at the time. So when you always have a job and a hustle. So although I wasn't at work, I was still making money on my real estate because it was renting. It's rented. We were still getting rents from it. It was paying for itself. I was building equity in it. So, and obviously I made, the decision in my life that I was going to be that person. You know what I'm saying? Deion Sanders said, you're going to be him. I decided I was going to be him. So I spent a lot of time buying books about real estate, reading it, reading about that. I studied the stock market. I was in banking when I first started in banking, and I also did some personal development. When I started in a associate program where I would come out in a branch and, do different rotations, but every piece of financial literature that I had, I read it.
Gotcha.
So, and that's a big part of too, when you look at financial literacy and generational wealth, a lot of it is your diet. It's not just what you eat to stay healthy, because health is a part of generational wealth, because the longer you're around, better life you live, longer you can work, more money you can make, more you can be around for your kids. But it also includes the music you listen to, what you watch on TV, what you read, and the people you associate yourself with.
Absolutely.
I put myself in position early on where I had some great mentors. One gentleman, his name was Mark Richter. I met him as a business acquaintance, and I did some business for him. But he was a real estate broker, and he did a lot of large real estate deals, and I was always interested in it. So I would go to him, spend time with him, sit down at the table, and he would just talk to me about deals, how he did deals, and buy real estate in the best neighborhoods. It might cost you more, but you're gonna get more rent. So he coached me on real estate principles and how to get started. So I was able to, although I was out there coaching and spending a lot of my bourbon money back then on the kids, I still was able to, because I had the library in my mind.
Gotcha. That's amazing. Do you have any book recommendations for the listeners that they can start off with?
I think a couple of books that I read. I mean, there's a lot of books out there. I think the ones that made a pretty good impression on me was The Millionaire Next Door.
Sure.
That book just tells you, it's enlightening, because you think a millionaire is the Elon Musk or the people like that, the Zuckerbergs, but they're not millionaires, they're billionaires now. But it tells you about how the average millionaire is made, and it's not the person that gets up and go to college. It's the person that decides to start a business early and save and not, and be more frugal. And it just gives you the baseline of how to become a millionaire, save money, and those practices. And then there's another book that I read. It's called The Alchemist.
I love that.
And The Alchemist, it just tells you, it's a book about your journey and your personal legend. Because when you read the book, it tells you it's about a young person that's on this journey, and these different things happen to him over time, and he ends up in these places and these predicaments and all. And he asks questions like, why did this happen or that happen? But he keep pushing on, and then he starts to realize that all these things happen for a reason, for him to get to his final destination in the book. So, like I said, I did not grow up affluent. I had disappointments in my life. I was married at a young age. My wife's always had my back. But when you read those books, it helps you focus on keep going. You know what I'm saying? Things happen. Yep. All right, it happened, man. Got to keep going. Got to keep going. So those are two books that I read. And another one is called The ISIS Papers.
What's that about?
ISIS Papers is it's a book about Dr. Cress Welsing, black professor, wrote a book just about being black in America, racism, and the things that we needed to overcome. Some folks have seen that book as a highly politicized book, but I would say get those. I think those three books should be in every black household, and you should read them.
Thanks for that.
All right.
And so you spoke about getting into real estate at an early age. Can you give our people just that if you going back to that time, that age that you got into real estate, and just some of the triumphant, moments that you endured throughout that time.
Well, again, we were younger. We had just got married and had a son, and we were literally living back at my mom's house in my old bedroom.
Gotcha.
And
Humble beginnings.
Humble beginnings. I had just literally got a job. I remember I got my first job at Star Bank. I got hired for $24,000 a year. I thought that was everything. But when we sat down there and calculated, I had just enough to buy a sandwich or two after my bills got paid. Yeah. But so literally, I told my wife, like, look, we're gonna be in this house. We're gonna be here. We're gonna get an apartment, which we did. When I got an apartment, I said we're gonna be in this apartment no longer than a year. Mm-hmm. So we moved into an apartment, and literally almost 1 year from the date we moved in, we got qualified to buy a house. So we had applied for. We had another house that we were interested in. We were gonna buy. Went to the bank, got turned down. Okay. So I said, okay. So I started analyzing. Why did we get turned down? Asked a bunch of questions, looked at it, reworked our numbers. Waited about a year. I said, let's buy an investment property. So we found a 2-family. And if you buy a 2-family or a multifamily, the other units, that projected income can count towards your income when you apply. So that helps you qualify. So we found a 2-family over in the Pleasant Ridge. It was a nice neighborhood. So we decided to buy the 2-family, went to my mother-in-law and father-in-law. And we had moved from my mom's house to there, and then living with them, and then into the apartment. I think that's how it happened. So we went back to them and say, well, y'all renting anyway. Y'all might as well rent from us rather than rent from them. And we could all be together, help my wife with my son, but also help us connect the family. So bought the 2-family. We moved downstairs. My mother-in-law and father-in-law moved upstairs. It was on a cul-de-sac, which had 4 kind of 2-families at the end of it. Mm-hmm. So a friend of mine was living across the street in a 2-family. So he was getting ready to get married, and his wife was like, nah, we don't want to live in this 2-family anymore. So I went to him, hit him up, like, yo, man, you getting ready to get married, whatever. I like to buy your 2-family from you. So he ended up selling me that 2-family. So I moved my brother-in-law and his wife. They moved in on one floor, and then his best friend and his girl moved on another floor. And then my mom, over time, she had a house that I grew up in somewhat for some years that she had. She was trying to do rental property, but she was renting it to the wrong people. We was having to go over there and clean it up all the time. She really didn't understand how to do it. She thought since they was at church, they wasn't going to tear my property up and all that, but they was tearing it up. So I went to her and I was just like, look, they tearing it up. We got to come over here and do the work anyway. So I was like, why don't you let me assume the mortgage that you have? So I took over the mortgage. I made the payments for her every month, and I gave her a couple, dollars each month for her allowing me to do that. I took over it. I started to rent it, and I took it when it was paid off. Then I owned it. But that was a great lesson because, number one, when I first started, I didn't really know what I was doing in rental property. I was young. I was probably 25, 26 or something like that. So I was, when that apartment was, when that house was vacant, I couldn't afford to pay anybody to do the work. So I used to literally get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, drive over there, get up, get on, have my hands and knees, do the floor, paint, whatever, go drive back home at 8 o'clock, change, go to work, after work, get off work, go on there, finish doing it. So I used to have to do that to get the house ready. But it taught me a lesson. Number one, how you want to make sure you manage it and don't allow people to tear it up. Gotcha. But two, it taught me to be handy. But probably the biggest lesson was that how much things cost to get fixed. Yeah. Because people come to you and be like, oh, I'm gonna do this, do that, and it's $600. You're like, well, man, it couldn't have been worth $150. But in the end, you start realizing when things, it helps you budget because you realize when something get broken, what it's going to take to get it fixed. So I did that, bought a couple 2 families, bought a single family, And then an older gentleman down the street from the single family I bought from my mom, he had known me since I was a kid. He was about to get married. Same situation. He had a house. I ran to Walgreens one day. He used to have these contracts at Walgreens you can go get. Went and got one, brought it back, signed his contract, bought his house. So
This all in the same cul-de-sac.
Oh, well, no, the cul-de-sac for the two families is somewhere else.
Okay.
The other houses was in a different neighborhood. So that's how I started to kind of build a portfolio of places and rent them.
Got you.
Yeah, and then later on I bought some more. So I guess the achievements I had is I was able to accumulate some stuff. I was able to learn how to finance it. I was able to convince other people that they're paying somebody else pay me, and how to do the work and how to start to go about being a landlord and a real estate investor.
So this process just taught you the cost of doing business on
cost of doing business, building equity, just a lot of things, and not just for me. My wife was with me, so it kind of taught us how to go about doing business together, and how to manage, the whole situation of being a real estate investor.
Thank you for that story.
Yeah,
give me a lot of hope.
Yeah,
and with your house being the bucket, how do you pour into that bucket and build that equity up?
Sweat equity, man. You know what I mean? Landscaping and all, I learned that the hard way, the old-fashioned way.
On your hands and knees.
On my hands and knees
Gotcha.
with a shovel. You know what I'm saying? You can't afford it, but I was pretty good at being able to look at something and seeing a vision of things, like when painting and interior design and landscaping like that. But I knew I didn't have the money to be able to pay somebody to do it, so I did it myself.
Gotcha.
So, when you just start doing that, you learn after time what to do and how to do it.
Got you. So is that more so like just doing like your own, I guess, renovations or stuff like that as far as building equity? Or is there other things that you can do inside of your home to compound that equity after just buying the property?
Number one, people underestimate the power of a good cleaning and paint.
Okay.
You come into a property, you might not have the money to be able to do certain renovations to it, but a very good cleaning, some good paint, can make make it look like it's on its way to being something.
Right. You get to see the potential.
You get to see the potential of it, and it doesn't cost a whole lot. And most people, a fifth grader could paint. You know what I'm saying? If you teach them how to do it the right way. So you start doing that, and then obviously after you start getting to be, that's when you're a novice. But when you start to get more experience, you start to realize the kitchens, the bathrooms, that way, and the curb appeal.
Right.
That's what brings more value to property. So for instance, we own those, going back to those two families that we had at one time. We were living in our house, and I had built a lot of equity up in our house, and it was almost paid for. And I was like, okay, I don't necessarily want to pay my house off so soon because it gives me a tax write-off because, the interest and stuff that you're paying. And so I was like, man, I'm already paying taxes. So I said, what can we do? So I took a home equity loan out of my house, and I took that cash, went to one of my two families, and we renovated the kitchen, renovated the bathroom, spent that money on it. But what was I able to do with that? I was able to raise the rents on it. I was able to raise the value on it. And I still got a tax write-off on, my house, which I could still afford because I could just borrow enough to where I could afford. So I had a tax write-off, had greater value in it, getting more rents, and so those type of things.
Okay.
Explain to our listeners what the tax write-off was for and how that works.
Well, you can when you borrow money out of your home, you can write off the interest expense. So a lot of times people go out and buy a car where if you just utilize a home equity loan, use that cash to buy your car, now you're paying interest on your home, so you can write off that interest expense.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
And when you went to acquiring your first rental property, I know you were saying like how you were living in the back of your mother's home. Was it the active income that was allowing you to get to that point of investing into a rental property, or did you have other sources that you brought along with you?
Well, the two family, obviously you moving into a two family, you trying to get the other tenant to pay as much as you possibly can, because that reduces the amount that you have to pay.
Absolutely.
So obviously it was my mother-in-law and father-in-law. I wasn't trying to gouge them, but they paid their fair share of the mortgage like we did. And my brother-in-law and his wife, I got them for a little more. You know what I mean? When they moved into the 2-family, you know what I'm saying? So when you start with multi-families and you buy your first and it's a multi-family, then you trying to reduce your expense by having somebody pay as much as you can.
Absolutely.
That way you can continue to save more. But all that time, I still was taking the extra money that I had, buying stock, investing consistently each month. It might only been $20 at the time, because I didn't have a lot of money at the time. So that's what I did. So when you look at becoming wealthy, it's typically investing in the stock market, buying real estate, and owning a business. So you try to diversify your money. So if this ain't happening, that's happening. And you making money while you sleeping all the time. So, a lot of people buy real estate because they want that cash flow monthly. Obviously, I was young. I needed the money, but I was able to reduce my expenses with help with the cash flow. But then as you start to get older as a real estate investor, you start to realize the appreciation is what's going to make you wealthy. So I might be able to buy a property that might be worth $800,000. It might be 3 units in a historical neighborhood. I might just be getting enough rents to pay for the mortgage, the expenses, and keeping that property. I might not be making a whole lot, but what I'm going to get in the end is the appreciation on that property, because it's in a neighborhood that's about to be gentrified. One day that property going to be worth over $1 million property. So probably. So after a while, it's not just the cash flow. You do want to have some cash flow properties, but you want to buy properties that's going to appreciate over time. I think you heard my man Hove, the Book of Hove, the Book of Hove, Jay-Z, if you don't know who that is. But anyway, he talked about a property he was going to buy for $2 million in Dumbo. He didn't buy it, and now that property's worth $20 million. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't necessarily the cash flow in it. It was the appreciation in that neighborhood.
Exactly.
So when you start to get to that level of thinking, man, it's that's when you become gangster at it.
I understand that. Absolutely.
And how does again, because you want to have many ways to hedge inflation. So give us a couple of your buoys that you throw out there into the ocean to help keep you afloat during inflating periods.
That's a good one.
Well, inflation, man. Number one, I try to invest in stocks that will kind of hedge inflation. I've been a big buyer of Kroger grocery stores, because no matter when time's good, bad, or indifferent, everybody got to eat. You know what I'm saying? I've been getting probably I started buying Kroger probably about 3 or 4 years ago. I think I got a 50% return on it. So I try to look at those stocks that will help me, Procter & Gamble, things like that. Some of the liquor. Essentials, which will hedge inflation, but real estate too. Because no matter what, somebody got to have somewhere to live. Yep. They got to have somewhere they got to stay.
Gotcha.
So again, the combination, I think, of and the diversity of your investments, and also, so I mentioned having a job and a hustle. When you look at working, people think about working, my career, and I got to work here for this. Man, I go to work. I love what I'm doing, and I love being able to help people, and I'm loyal to my employer. However, I go to work to make that money, to make money for me.
Gotcha.
Okay, so your 401k is something that automatically comes out, and you're gonna make money. But you gotta, again, figure out what it is once you want to do, make that decision, and keep contributing to it. Because there's a saying: when blood in the streets, that's when you want to buy. When things get bad, that's when you want to buy, and then it'll come back. But with inflation, obviously, those stocks I talked about, consumables, the necessary, real estate, and staying consistent and staying the course, man.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And without that surplus in income, or without any income, you wouldn't be ready for those moments when there is blood in the street.
Right. But if you buy stocks and invest over time, you will make income, because most stocks gonna pay dividends.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? sometimes I look at my account and I look up like, man, where does extra $50, $60, $100 come from? It was because I didn't realize it was a dividend that was about to be paid. So, you know what I'm saying? That stuff comes in over time. You know what I'm saying?
Explain to our listeners what a dividend is.
So when you invest in a company, so, you know, people like Nike, let's say, you know, you got a Nike t-shirt on, you can actually become an owner of Nike.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Just like Phil Knight. You know what I'm saying? You ain't the owner, but you know what I'm saying? But if you buy one share of stock, you are a shareholder.
Yep.
So, you know, just like you have savings accounts and money markets that pay interest, those companies pay dividends to you however often, that's a monthly, quarterly, yearly, or whatever it is, but they pay you a return on your investment.
Exactly.
So years of buying more shares, you know, let's say it's $1 per share dividend. If you got 1,000 shares, then you're gonna get $1,000 payment because of the dividends you have. So over the years, when you keep buying stocks over time, when you ready to retire and you need an income, it's not just your 401k and your Social Security. You're going to get dividends too from the stocks that you own. So you want to look at, you know, so if you're looking for a high dividend stock, then, you know, Home Depot or those are the type of stocks you want to buy because they give you a dividend return.
Make sure y'all do y'all research on what high payout dividend options you can find.
Yeah, and plus the stock appreciation too.
Absolutely. So you get money on the front end and the back end long term.
Yeah.
You mentioned life insurance as being a part of generational wealth. I do want to touch base on that because that's very huge right now, especially in our thank you, brother. In our community, we don't really value life insurance. So what does life insurance mean to you? How did you get involved? And what are some of the vehicles that you buy into within life insurance to help, continue your generational wealth?
Well, first I want to say I am not a licensed professional. However, life insurance can replace the income. So if you're married and you pass away and you got, I know Scott gonna have that $1 billion real estate portfolio one day. His
Say
wife,
that again. Say that
Scott
one
gonna
more
have that
time.
$1 billion portfolio one day.
Right.
So, your spouse has to replace that income from you in order to keep things rolling. So you need to have life insurance in order to do that. Now, a lot of people, they don't educate themselves or they don't really sacrifice. When you're working at your job, you have a total benefits package, So that might come with a 401k, that might come with life insurance and all. That might take $7 a month or whatever it is out of each paycheck, but you can get life insurance with that. Right. Doesn't cost a lot, but if something happens, you get life insurance where you could pass to your family in order for them to be able to continue to move on and build generational wealth with that, but to also replace the income that if something happened, God forbid, that you can replace that income.
It's taken out of the household.
Yeah, that's taken out of the household. So they have different variations of life insurance, whole life, or whatever. I use term because it's cheaper, because I feel like I'm not going to give my money to an insurance company and let them invest my money. I can invest my money on my own. Absolutely. So I get the term life insurance. But it's just not to bury somebody when they pass away. It's to be able to, to be able to continue to build that generational wealth over time, and it's not taxed.
Right.
You know what I mean? So,
and that's why it's not advertised.
Yeah. So you want to be able, that's a part of your portfolio, your life insurance. When you sit down there and you fill out your personal financial statement, and that's something I recommend everybody do at least once a year. Get you a personal financial statement, sit down and fill it out. Because at the end, as long as you don't lie to yourself, it's going to tell you exactly where you are.
You got to be real with
your
yourself.
life insurance is an asset. You know what I'm saying? And that's important. People want to talk about what they really have and they try to, show what they got. If I'm going to flex, I'm going to just pull out my personal financial statement and lay it on the table. That's going to be my flex. You know what I'm saying? Because that, along with, never not getting paid, because when you're making money at night, those are the biggest flex.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
And it's a proof of concept as opposed to flexing on that liability. You got all these assets.
Yeah, I've been a very humble person. I don't brag a whole lot and whatever. But, you know, in my mind, I know what it say on that piece of paper.
Like Deion Sanders said, you him.
Yeah, that's right.
Gotcha.
You ain't got to play ball to be him.
Yeah, that's right.
No, definitely. And in life insurance, what I'm learning is there's a lot of products there that can help you outlive your retirement. Because what happens is, you know, we bank on retirement. Yeah, the 401k is a great thing, but it only lasts for so long.
And Dave Ramsey has some books just on, you know, he has some very good books that I believe can be a Bible for you. And it goes over the whole thing, the insurance or what have you. So I would recommend, you know, picking up a book about, or a book from Dave Ramsey and all, and that could help explain that.
And there are life insurance policies that are not for your death date you can use while you're still living. So make sure you guys do your research.
And you can borrow from it.
Absolutely.
You can borrow from it to buy real estate.
Yes.
You can borrow from your 401k. I don't recommend taking money out of your 401k because of the tax implications, but you can borrow money out of your 401k for a down payment on a home and to buy real estate. You can do that.
Yeah.
So in the banking out, and I want to talk about this because that's where you are right now in your career. When it comes down to investing, what are some of the appetites that banks look for? Because I know a lot of people, they get turned away. Like you said, you even got turned away from, you know, trying to get a loan at one point throughout your time. So what kind of appetite does banks look for? What does that cycle look like? When should I look to ask the bank for some money?
Well, a lot of times, especially in the Black community, we have this, and I'm not discounting anything that happened in the past because those were real events and it did, you know, give us some disparity over time. But we like to say, oh, you know, Black, they don't want to do this for banks and this and that. And the fact of the matter is banks want to do business with people that got money and in good position because they take risks.
Right.
You know, I liken it to playing a good game of Monopoly. Some people pull out the board.
Great call.
They throw the pieces out there. They get the money from the bank. But how many people actually stop and read the rules? And that's all. When you go to a bank, it's all about the rules. Cash flow coverage, leverage, credit score. So, you know, some people come and say, oh, I got 800 credit score and they want to do this and that. Well, the bank, this is not pawn shop lending.
Right.
Okay, you can't just bring them something and say, oh, I got this and an 800 credit score. You know, y'all should lend me the money.
That's not your shoe in.
The thing is if you're buying a piece of real estate, will that real estate pay for itself?
Right.
A cash flow coverage of 1.25, which means for every dollar you spend, you get $1.25 back. So for me, somebody that's, you know, obviously been educated on that, or other folks that educate themselves, when you say, I want to buy this house, I want to buy this property, you should be able to pull out your personal financial statement, pull out a piece of paper and run calculations on where you are with your debt to income ratio, what your credit score is, if what your leverage is, if things are, you should be able to do those calculations for yourself to be able to say before you get to the bank, you should be 90% assured where you are.
Gotcha.
But people think, you know, I've had people that run business like, well, I run a business. It's not my job to know about banking. No, it is your job to handle the business of the business.
Gotcha.
So again, ignorance is bliss. But do you actually sit down and put the work in so nobody can make
Tell
you unstoppable?
Business, yeah.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? If you playing football and you got to go out on that field, what you gonna do? You gonna make sure you physically fit, you strong enough to step on that field before you go out there and take a hit.
Absolutely.
So before you go out to the bank or whatever, make sure that you read. You can even go to a bank, sit down with them and say, listen, this is what I'm looking to do. Can you tell me what your requirements are in ratios? I want you to write them down, explain to me what they are so I can go prepare myself and come back and be ready for it. Most people don't do that. And not only is it just for that loan, it's so you can prepare yourself for anything you want to do, but then you can also explain that to your kids and the people you're responsible for of what it actually takes.
Right.
The bank is out there. The banks are not nonprofit.
Right.
You know, people think, it's a bank. Nah, the bank is open and established to make money,
Right.
and they do that by taking risk.
Right.
Okay, so it's a risk tolerance. The better your credit score is, the better risk you are, the cheaper interest rates you're gonna get.
Right.
You know what I mean? So my thing is educate yourself about the life game.
Right.
Part of the life game is the life insurance game. Is going to a bank. You know what I'm saying? All that is the part of the game. You are not excluded from the information of that game just because you are black.
Right. I like that. A lot of people walk into banks with certain entitlement because they haven't had before.
And it's all, I guess, for is it more so risk being the reason that banks don't consider all loans to be equal, or is there other intangibles that go along with that?
Well, that's kind of a broad question because it's number one, what are you borrowing the money for?
Okay.
What experience do you have? What risk is it? What's your personal financial state? I continue to mention that because that's so powerful. Because you can look at a person, I can look at a person's personal financial state and I can tell you what's important to you. I can tell you what type of financial acumen you have. Because it's going to show what debt you have, what type of debt you have. You know what I'm saying? You don't own a home,
Right.
but you got the brand new Tesla S-Plaid. You know what I'm saying? But you ain't got a house.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Make it make sense.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? You want to buy this, you know.
You more focused on flash.
Whatever it is.
Yeah.
But you have no life insurance. You know, a lot of times when you go borrow money from the SBA, a bank product, government product, you know, they want to see that you have life insurance. But if you don't have a home at the same time, I'm looking at it like, well, this person really doesn't have any girth, any financial girth to back this up. If it doesn't work, then where do we come for? And two, I can tell this person really doesn't have the acumen to be able to back up what they're saying because they have nothing. So people are not going to lend you anything if you don't have anything. If you don't have any skin in the game, how you going to go borrow $1 million? I got this great idea. I'm opening this restaurant. You know, I'm gonna do something different with the chicken and waffles this time.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So you saying to but you want to borrow $1 million to do that,
Right.
But you know what I'm saying?
You don't have no
but
skin
you
in the
got
game,
like $2,500 and you still owing on your student loan. You see what I'm saying? So it got to make sense.
Right.
It got to make sense, and it comes down to education.
I love that. Thank you. Though.
You got anything, Scott?
Nah, man, that was amazing. That's probably the best episode we're gonna have.
Yeah. So we got a couple more minutes. All right. So I do want to just conclude everything with I always got a couple more questions just to conclude our podcast.
I could add some things that kind of help people get started. You know,
No, we would love that.
And that's what we want to hear. Yep.
Obviously, we're going to go back and recap real quick. Making the decision that you want to, have some financial wealth, educating yourself on all those instruments, holding yourself accountable, and then being consistent with your practices. And some things that might help you with that, there's a couple of apps out there. One is called Acorns. So Acorns is a good app because it's a roundup app where you can set it up. You get this app. It asks you your risk tolerance, age, and what have you. But you can use your debit card. So you can just do everyday activity. So if you go to the store and you're going to buy something for $7.50, the app rounds that up to $8. And that an extra 50 cents automatically goes into your investment portfolio for you. So it's working automatically, just doing what you do every day, using your debit card, spending money. So that's a good app. I would also suggest that you get another app like Fidelity, Charles Schwab, Raymond James, or something like that to do your investment. Because if you download the app, not only does it help you invest, but it gives you daily news. You can read every single day. You should be reading every single day about what's going on in the stock market, what's going on in the world, or what have you. But it's going to tell you where the S&P is, where the Dow Jones Industrial Average is, where Nikkei is. It's going to tell you what stocks fell today and the reason why. But it gives you information but it also starts to train you on what's important, what's going on in the world, and give you information about what you want to do with your investments, real estate, business-wise, the economic outlook, all of that. So I would suggest that you do that. And again, keeping up, not just buying a home, but keeping up what's going on in real estate and the stock and real estate and the real estate market around where you live and around the country, because you're going to start seeing trends. You're just going to understand what's happening in your neighborhood, and you want to understand in your city where the wealth is, where the wealthy are moving, just so you can have a good understanding about what's going on around, so your surroundings. If you live in the jungle, you want to know where the snakes and alligators are. You want to know how to be safe. So you want to understand what's going on. And something that's very, very important is I don't believe that you have to have a huge circle of people, but I do recommend having the right circle of people. I moved to Tampa 3.5 years ago. I built a circle with the right type of people that's doing real estate development, people that own companies, construction companies, people that are CEOs at different organizations or whatever, because those are the people. If you're going to smoke cigars and drink bourbon, smoke cigars and drink bourbon with the people that you can gather information from, that are like-minded and all about doing business and making things happen. Absolutely. So build your circle. And then, if you're married, educate your spouse. Have your spouse educate you, because that's the person you got to wake up and do battle with every single day.
Absolutely.
All right.
Your first business partner.
Yeah. And then, as a Black person, share your knowledge with other Black people. All right.
And can you highlight real quick before we wrap up, because I want to know this bit, and I think it would be good for our listeners. Can you highlight the power of leveraging? And how leveraging your money can, again, help you acquire and attain towards that generational wealth that you're striving for.
Not just leveraging your money, but group economics too.
There we go.
Start an investment group with your friends and all, and they don't see, trying to get everybody on board. But the power of, if you got 12 people in a group and they all put in $10 a month, they only putting in $10, but that's $120. The power is greater. Absolutely. If you stay with it consistently and let it work over time. Becoming rich don't happen overnight. Becoming powerful don't happen overnight. You know what I mean? That don't happen overnight. But owning real estate, continue to get appreciation with all that, you can leverage that real estate. You can leverage marketable securities. You can leverage good assets, and becoming wealthy is about the accumulation of good assets and knowing the difference between that. Know the difference between real estate, the stock market, buying stock and insurance, rather than buying that new hot car or buying the next J's that out for $250, but you could buy the stock first, and then every time you buy a pair of J's, you paying yourself. You know what I'm saying? So understanding that, you know what I mean? So, absolutely. And last thing, when you talk about leverage, understand that you have to make a sacrifice in the beginning to be able to be great at the end.
I love that. Thank you, Mr. Smith.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that was great.
All right, guys. So I definitely hope you guys, took a lot of notes here. I know I did. I got some things that I wrote down.
It's a lot to pull from on this episode, y'all.
It's a lot.
I really hope y'all didn't miss
that. Can I finish it off with one thing?
Sure thing.
For sure.
What's greater than one billionaire?
Two.
Especially when
they got the same hue as you. That's
there
right.
It is.
All right. We got a whole fan on the set, y'all.
There we go. So if you like what you saw today, what you heard, the guests that we have on, make sure you like, share, subscribe to Doing Numbers Podcast every Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on YouTube. Coach Mike, let our listeners know where they can find you at.
You can reach me through my email, IronSmithDev, IronSmithDev, like IronSmith Development, IronSmithDev at Gmail, and Mike3001817 at Gmail.
Thank you for coming, Mr. Smith.
Thank you. I appreciate your time.
Thank you for bringing your family with you.
Yes.
Yes, sir. So without further, ado, man, we want to wrap up today. Again, man, bring your pen and pad. all the time when you come to doing numbers. You never know who's going to be sitting here with us on our panel and what type of gems and hacks they got for us, y'all. So y'all take care, man. Peace out. Enjoy your day.
See y'all next Monday. Thank you.